Trans Am, what's your pleasure? Great line from the Smokey and the Bandit film. That was 1977. But you know what's really cool? This Trans Am, 1976, 455, 4-speed transmission, is the last year for that combination. I'm Muscle Car Campy, and we've got something that's a little unusual for you today. Typically, we don't do cars built after 1972. Possibly we do a Super Duty Trans Am or a Formula, but this is a 76 TA, the shining example of what was available during the low compression smog era. Before we get started, don't forget, hit the subscribe button and ring that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. Imagine a time when 455 cubic inches only got you 200 net horsepower. Compression was a low 7.6 to 1. Crazy. Shaker hood, the last of the shaker hoods, right? It was blocked off from the factory. But you know, there must have been something to it, because let's face it, it wasn't even available for sale in California. Doesn't that automatically make it interesting? The owner of this car has swapped off the heads. He's got 69 428 heads that raise the compression way up to over 10 to 1. Here's something to think about. A year before Smokey and the Bandit hit theaters, the 76 became the best-selling Firebird of all time. While the rest of the car makers were running and hiding from cubic inches in performance, Pontiac embraced it. And while Dodge, Plymouth, Mercury, and AMC had killed their pony cars, and Chevy axed the Z28, 110,775 flew out of showrooms this year. Somehow, against all odds, the Trans Am was the best seller in the entire Firebird line at 46,704 made. What made the Trans Am so popular? First of all, from an appearance standpoint, it was the most exciting American car made. Perhaps a little over the top for some, but that bird on the hood made a statement. Also, there was little in the way of competition by 1976. The Mustang II Cobra II didn't even come with a V8 standard. It was a real fugazi. More than that, this car was exciting. Just looking at it got your heart racing. Today's feature car belongs to Mike Kelso, the president of the Florida chapter of the Pontiac Oakland Club and GMC Club International. This car complements his stable of Pontiacs. He also has a 62 Grand Prix with a 4-speed. He just sold his 2006 Pontiac Solstice. This car is really a popular car at shows, and everybody in America had a Trans Am back then. It was such a popular seller. This car has, of course, the Trans Am steering wheel. It's got the 4-speed transmission. It's got the optional 8-track player. You can't go wrong with that. The Trans Ams all came with the full gauge cluster, the engine turn dash. You got your little badge there to tell you it's got radial tuned suspension. It's got air conditioning. It's got the rear window to fog her out back. It's pretty much got everything you need. Does not have the deluxe interior, but you know what? It's got that beautiful vinyl Pontiac is known for. It's got the matte pouches in the doors, which was something not a lot of cars had back then. Just kind of dig the whole scene in this car. Road and Track magazine actually tested a car just like this in 1976. It was a 455 4-speed car, and the results were interesting. Despite not having any compression whatsoever, and despite having a big giant catalytic converter choking up the exhaust, the car went 15.9 at 87 miles an hour. Now that was a far cry from the 14.1 at 99 that a 69 Trans Am ran when they tested it 7 years earlier, but not too bad for that era. All right, we're driving around with El Presidente, Mr. Michael Kelso. Mike, it's good to be in your Trans Am today. You know, you've had some great cars since I've known you. You still have that beautiful 62 Grand Prix with the 4-speed. You've got this car. What drew you to the 76 Trans Am? Was it the rarity, the fact that it was a 4-speed car?
Well, originally it was a bucket list car. I always liked a single headlight. I wasn't a big fan of a dual headlight once in 77. This one came up for sale down around North Fort Myers. I went down there with my vice president, Walter Clark, to look at a GTO he was looking at. This was right there in the area, so we went over and looked at it. Next thing I know, it's in my driveway.
It followed you home.
It followed me home.
Nice, good car, good car.
Well, when I looked at it originally, this car's all there. You know, and it's all factory, which is kind of a factory kind of guy, and I was happy to grab it. It's had its issues. I have no idea about the engine other than it's got 69 420 heads on it.
And that raised the compression back up over 10 to 1, you said.
10.75 according to the factory books. Other than that, I'd love to know what's in this engine because it's obviously not stock. But I don't know.
Does it really handle as well as everybody remembers? Because this was really a situation where Pontiac was putting out a car for a market that didn't really exist yet. The guys that really wanted to carve some corners. But right now, the car, back then it was like make it go fast in a straight line. But they really kind of paved the way for the modern performance era, where there was lots of power and lots of suspension and handling, lots of grip. The radial tuned suspension, it wasn't just a marketing ploy, it wasn't just a sticker that they put on the dashboard, it actually worked.
Yeah, and going from like 62 Grand Prix driving that big old boat to getting in this is an experience. Just the Grand Prix, you got to turn the steering wheel about 3/4 of a turn before it gets anything. This thing,
yeah. No, there's no question this is going to be a much different ride than a 62 Grand Prix.
Yeah, it rides like a truck, but it's a sports car.
Yeah, that was one of Road & Track's complaints. That was a little bit jittery, over bumps and things like that. But back then, they didn't have the suspension technology that we have today, where you can make a car handle it, grip the road, and yet it didn't knock out your fillings when you were driving down the road.
Yeah, and back in 1976, you all these brand new, you really didn't care whether it rode like a truck.
It was almost a badge of honor.
Yeah. You wanted it to go fast and go through the curves. I've never really challenged this thing. I don't have that many guts anymore.
How it was. I see how the back of the scoop has been opened up. That was a real buzzkill back in '76. You had that great shaker hood. This was until the Mustang in '03, the last factory car with a shaker hood. These second-gen Firebirds and Trans Ams.
Well, it's kind of like if you've never heard a Quadrajet unfiltered, wide open, you've never heard anything. They do sound great when they're wide open.
All right, everybody, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. This is Muscle Car Campy saying that's a wrap. Ciao for now. See you next time. Remember, we've got lots of tire frying muscle cars coming up. You won't want to miss any of them.